G'day everyone, Paul Stoner, CEO Biggin and Scott. I'm joined today by David Lack, who's our Director at Port Melbourne. David, welcome.
Yeah, g'day.
Thanks for coming. Now we're going to talk about a few things today, and I've just prepped David before this, but what's the market been like coming through the winter months? And I keep on calling it Christmas in July now because everybody seems to go on break.
Absolutely.
More and more often. I know everyone in Europe's saying, what are all these Aussies doing here? That's the feedback that you get. It wasn't me, by the way, this year. You didn't go to Europe either?
No.
You went fishing, and
I went fishing.
I haven't been anywhere.
Fair enough. No, it's been, I suppose, winter, as we've seen in previous years, was a little bit quiet. Mm-hmm. So certainly, quite a lot of buyers around, but certainly not the stock, and a lot of vendors actually taking a bit of a mid-season break. So
that's been happening for a couple of months now, hasn't it? People are standing back to see what happens with the lending and the politics and so forth. So, and in your market where it's pretty expensive,
yes, people
sit back.
Well, that's right, and I mean the good news for for sellers out there is that the prices have been still quite strong, and I mean I look at what we've sold in the last 4 weeks, and sold a range of properties from one-bedroom apartments, sort of close to the mid-600s, and actually just the other day, an apartment off market that's 20 years old for close to $2.5 million. So for anyone that tries to strike up a conversation and say that the market's soft is probably speaking to the wrong person. But in saying that, I think that a lot of the people that we're meeting at Opens are probably reading a little bit too much into the media, and the talk of clearance rates down and tight lending policies and whatever. But the fundamentals are terrific. We've got a strong economy. I was speaking to a colleague the other day, and he said, look, we've got 350 people coming to Melbourne each day. So, certainly our population is growing, and it will one day be greater than Sydney. But, Melbourne's a great place to live, and I'm lucky to list and sell and manage properties in probably one of the best parts of Melbourne, being Port Melbourne.
And the interesting part will be, so there's been quite a few cranes in Port Melbourne for the last few years. There'll be less cranes over the next 3 years. There was a good article in The Australian yesterday. The developers, it's more difficult for them to get money, so there'll be less cranes, which is going to put a bit of pressure on demand.
Absolutely.
And so you see this after growth periods, you do see this where there's, they say, a saturation of supply, and then everybody disappears, they fill up, and then the demand grows again. So it'd be interesting to see how the dynamic of this next stage of the market works.
Very much so. I mean, even our rental team have been really busy, and people, come into the area wanting to maybe try the area before they buy. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of that happening, where a lot of our tenants are actually, when they give their notice, it's not to go to another rental property, but they've actually bought. So which is a good thing.
Well, you don't get much closer to the city. So so what are we expecting for each of these weeks now heading into spring? So August is, for all of us agents, it is a very intense listing period, and you'll be finding that you're getting called in a lot now.
Oh, look, it's been pretty crazy since we've come back from our retreat in New Zealand. Mm-hmm. But yes, been busy getting properties ready for sale. It's really important to have the presentation just A1, but we've got some really strong auction weekends coming up in August and September, so just before the grand final, but it's probably going to be the busiest spring that we've had for a few years now. Yeah.
Now, you just touched on presentation, so anybody thinking of selling, the markets like David's, where you've got educated buyers and it's an educated market, properties that are styled well and with nothing left to do are the ones that are in demand. There's no doubt about it. They're getting better prices. They remove all of the questions, and they supply a lifestyle that people want to live.
Absolutely,
which is really interesting. So, if you are thinking about selling, make sure you discuss styling, whether you should have it done or not.
Absolutely, and I think one of the questions is, I suppose, probably a good 30-40% of the properties that we're selling are tenanted. Yep. And so we're dealing with a party that probably there's nothing in it for them in terms of the sale process. But it's still really important for us when we get that call, can you sell my property, but I have a tenant in there, is to actually go and conduct an inspection and see how the property's presented, if there's any work that's required, whether or not we can actually work with the occupants. Are they tidy? Do we need to put some things in storage for them? So it's certainly not a situation where, you know, we move our tenants out to put a sale together, but it's still really important to check out the property and make sure there's, you know, the presentation's really good and there's no outstanding maintenance.
Yeah, so with them, they're what we call fairly complex sales, those ones. But have you been selling many off-market?
Look, I think that's a trend that we've seen this year. Probably some of the biggest sales that we've done this year have been off-market. And what I'm saying that is over $2 million. But, you know, we're pretty well known for that top end in Port Melbourne, and that certainly hasn't slowed down. Number of visible listings is less, but the buyers, who are generally people that are downsizing, but they're buying for a 20 or 25 year longevity, they are really hot on the heels in terms of what have you got.
Yeah, it's the colder months traditionally we sell a few off market, but it is becoming part of the main sales cycle now, where a lot of sellers will experiment with a couple of weeks of off market and then go completely on market, and there's strategies around that, and you should ask David if you get him in. So we are expecting, well, we're kind of not, we don't know what to expect in spring at the moment because the politicians can change, because this current market it's politician driven. It's not market forces. The economy's fine. The lending criteria is a bit tougher. We were talking about that.
Yeah, that's been a bit of a stimulus in terms of even sellers, in terms of, you know, I've spoken to a number of people who they have an interest-only loan that's going to mature maybe in the next 12 months. So they're planning to say, well, look, you know, we don't really want to go to the principal and interest model. So they're planning a sale, whether it's this side of Christmas or early next year. But also it's affected people's affordability in terms of buying as well. So,
correct.
You know, it's just a matter of getting a grip on it. I mean, there are still a lot of lenders out there happy to offer that product. So it's really important to do your due diligence and just check out what the options are.
Work out what's right for you.
Yeah.
And I saw a great rate the other day, 4.95% for interest only, but it's a matter of how long you can get it for now.
That's right.
Yeah. It's not ongoing. They'll wind it up in 2 years. So if you're looking for good customer service, good relationship management, the guys at Port Melbourne, I couldn't recommend anybody more highly, because they know how to look after their clients. They get great results, and as you said, over $2 million in that area. These guys are doing most of those sales. So give them a call. Not every sale runs the same these days, so it's important to work out with David and the team what's right for you and where they think that you sit in the market, and that's more important now than it's ever been.
Absolutely. I mean, we just tailor the best solution, given the circumstances and the property.
Thanks for watching, everyone. The number will pop up on the screen for the team at Port Melbourne, and we'll see you next
Absolutely.
month.
See you next month.
Cheers.
Thank you.